So thank you so much. Could I get a hands up if you've come here from the Sydney Tech Business Startups meetup? Oh, awesome. Awesome. And then where did everyone else come from? I was just really interested to see where the room was. You came from work? How did everyone hear about this event? From home? Okay. Facebook. Oh, so you guys came from Facebook mostly, and then the meetup as well. That's really interesting. So awesome. So I'm really excited about this event because it's our first crypto sort of themed event. And we're going to be talking about how it's actually going to work in the mainstream sort of society, and how crypto can now, what we think the future of crypto. So I'm going to introduce Arya, who is our director of Genesis Ventures, and he's going to be talking about business strategy and how that is going to affect the mainstreaming of crypto. So thanks, Arya.
Thank you, Jamie. So before we jump in, just by show of hands, who's been following crypto for quite a long time? Okay, about half-ish of the room. And who's like barely got into crypto but just here and interested? Fantastic, about another half of the room. Perfect, right? So I started, when I first was working with Hamed, just to tell you the story of what I definitely was in the category of not initially, following crypto for years and years. And when we first started talking about Agate, we sat down and we were looking at all of these different features of what it would take to bring cryptocurrency into the mass economy. And to be honest with you, I was thinking, wow, this is such a big task. Right? Because you ask anyone and you ask them why did you invest in cryptocurrency, and they say because my friend invested in cryptocurrency, right? And to have it as just another currency, even though that was the original intention, just seems so far off. So for me, as the Chief Strategy Officer, for about 10 years I've been working in the digital and technology industries, helping businesses to bring their products and services to the market at scale. And with this one, I was thinking, how on earth are we going to do this? Because it's so complicated. There are so many moving parts. But something came to me, and it was that if you guys know Peter Diamandis, a bit of a futurist, a technologist, Peter Diamandis says that from the year 1900 to the year 2000, we have had as much innovation, as many new products and services from the year 2000 to the year 2016. 100 years of innovation in 16 years. And not only that, the same innovation is happening from the year 2016 to 2022. Ladies and gentlemen, we are in the middle of only very few years of 100 years worth of innovation. So as much of a big vision that this is to have cryptocurrency in the normal economy, we're now in a place where these types of things are moving faster and faster. And I don't think that it is a coincidence that is why we have such a big attendance tonight. So it's a privilege for me to be here and be at the cutting edge of us finding new ways to do business with each other. So the one thing that I'll say of the biggest challenge, which at first scared me, but I'm so proud that we've got here, was when I looked at all of this list of different features, I thought, how are we going to get this to the everyday, the mum, the dad, the merchants, to use this? And safe to say, and I'm sure we'll be going through all of this through the session today, we were able to simplify it into how human beings interact with other human beings. Yeah? How do merchants, they just want to do their thing and earn their living. People want to be able to spend their money and not have it fluctuate so much, and they want quick transactions. And investors want a simple way to see that my cryptocurrency is not just based on a speculative market. My cryptocurrency is being used for day-to-day transactions. So again, a big privilege to be here, not just here today, but in this space where we can even dare to dream about these types of things and we can implement them and make them happen. So thank you so much and enjoy the rest of the evening.
Thank you, Ariel. And I'm just going to introduce and bring up to the stage Ashkan. He's a CEO of Genesis and he also wants to add some value to you about Agate. So, Ashkan.
Thank you very much. Oops. So I'm Ashkan. I'm leading in Genesis, which is a venture builders. Basically, we work with ventures. One of our key venture partners is Agate. So we're partnering with Agate, which is this cryptocurrency platform we're going to talk about today. To give a little bit of information about myself, I work with multinational companies such as LexisNexis. I was leading the software rollout, and so here my role at Agate is to ensure that the overarching strategy is going well, so that we can manage to roll it out. So if there is any question regarding Agate, I'm more than happy to have the conversation with you after this event. Thank you.
Our forward head. So now I want to introduce Hamed Tagbay to the stage. He's the one behind, sort of, the brains behind cryptocurrency. So if everyone put your hands together for Hamed.
All right, thank you very much. I just want to take an opportunity and thank you everyone who, within a very short time, accepting our invitation and came here to basically listening to what we did and what is the Agate Project. I hope you enjoy. So Agate obviously is the project name, and for more information you guys can check in our website agatechain.org. So I just want to give you what I understand. There are different types of people in this event. People who are in the crypto economy for a long time and people who just get into this market. It's good to have some idea about the existing market and then how we can help this existing market to be mainstream. So at the moment, over 1,600 cryptocurrency existing in the market, which the value and the market cap of these cryptocurrency is over $400 million. In terms of number of users who own and have the cryptocurrency, there is no specific and basically reliable statistics. However, based on the number of two major coins which we have, Bitcoin and Ethereum, we can sort of guess how many users might own. As you can see, there are over 24 million wallets for Bitcoin, and there are over 32 million wallets for Ethereum. However, this doesn't necessarily mean each wallet owned by one person, and because everyone can have multiple wallets, some of the wallets may not be used. But what it's showing us, it shows the number of people who own and manage this cryptocurrency within last few years has been increased significantly in terms of number of users and in terms of the total market cap. So, however, we're dealing with these numbers, big numbers, but still we can see, if you're passing to a shopping center, if you're going to your local store, the number of merchants or the number of shops who can accept in cryptocurrency in comparison of the amount of wealth and capital which is invested in cryptocurrency is not that much. So what we did, it came from, perhaps you guys who know me, I own several businesses in retail and different industry. So this idea came from a pain of myself, which we approached by different company who providing the merchant service for the cryptocurrency. They came into us and they asking us and inviting us to accepting cryptocurrencies. which for me as a person who got into the market on late 2012 and early 2013 was quite interesting, because this could be considered as new types of income for my businesses. But on the other hand, when we get to the practical way, we've seen there are major issues around that. So one of the biggest and major issues which we're facing when we get to accepting those cryptocurrency was fluctuation. So let's say we're happy to change our pricing on the stores based on the different cryptocurrency. Not to mention at that matter of time, Bitcoin was the only coin, so it was much easier than now where we have heaps of cryptocurrency. So we have to change our pricing and labeling based on those cryptocurrency on that time. But the day after that, those prices may go up and down. But again, that would be manageable because there was some application which letting us to get the right price. But the main problem was when we accepting the actual coin or any types of coin, regardless of if it's Ethereum or Bitcoin or any other one, and when it comes to time to pay our supplier, which obviously we have to pay in fiat, the major issue was we're never sure that we got the same value of the money which we received initially or not. Give you an example. Let's say we sold a goods of the value of $100, and then on that matter of time, Bitcoin was, let's say, 10K. So we get a portion of Bitcoin or Ethereum for that service or goods which we sold. Next week, or a month later, when we have to pay to our merchant, there was no guarantee that we get the same amount of money of what we initially sold to the customer. So that was one of the main issues. The other issue which we had was, as I said, initially Bitcoin was the only player, but then by time being the number of coins has been increased, and then sometimes they said, oh, don't go and accepting Bitcoin, now Ethereum is the better one, then Litecoin and so on. Hence, we're never sure that which types of coin we should have accepted in order to make sure that tomorrow we can cash it out and basically pay it back to our supplier. And also, the other problem was, so let's say in a practical way, we should have serving our customer within a few seconds. Like when you go into the market and you want to pay for your coffee, you have maybe few seconds to tap and go. You have next customer waiting to basically pay. And whereas in the existing blockchain, which we are still having, the time of these transactions was too long, sometimes even a few days when we had a really high traffic over there. And obviously, as I said, the speed was too slow. Now, one of the other concerns for myself personally was I came to know, because I have a background in mining for Bitcoin. When I started mining, it was only my own computer with a little bit of CPU process, and it was really easy to basically mine and sign the transaction. But by time being, as you guys perhaps know, because difficulty has been increased, obviously, the more processor needs to basically sign those transactions. And this happened for pretty much all those cryptocurrency which using proof of work in order to sign the transaction. So, and then obviously by time being, when you need to have more processing power, then GPU came, then ASIC processor came, and obviously, as you know, today for mining the whole Bitcoin's network, the energy and the power which we're using at the moment is over a usage of a whole city. So for me, as a person, not using an environmental friendly mining was a really big concept. So the other problem was, this was the actual issue which we didn't basically go through to accepting any types of cryptocurrency. In the other hand, we're facing with the customer who came to us and asking, are you accepting any types of cryptocurrency? Well, I had a really simple application for blockchain, if you guys know, for the merchant side, which you could only accept Bitcoin on that matter of time. But from the user's point of view, because although they like to, get out of the centralized world and go to the decentralized to get the power back to them, but as I said, because user always losing their their basically value of their money initially because of high fluctuation of this market. And obviously, as I said, due to it wasn't practical for the user to spending that money because, as I said, it was really a slow transaction, and it takes few minutes to few hours to settle a transaction. And on the other hand, once we get to receive more coins to the market, we've seen that the main problem is they're not sure that how they can manage this number of coins. Obviously, at the moment we have 1,600. By next 5 years, this may become 16,000, and the much better coin may come to the market. We never know about that. But how they can manage that, first of all, in order to make sure they diversify their portfolio in order to basically take an advantage if one crypto has been increasing value, the other one dropping value, and also using a different coin with the different capabilities. So as you guys know, in order to keep different cryptos, you need to have, and you need to store them in different wallets. So, and then when it comes to spend that, it's really hard and in fact impractical to proportionally spending from different types of coin. In the merchant side, as I mentioned before, we're not sure that what we should accept, and then even if we're happy to accept any specific types of cryptocurrency, we're not sure if suppliers are happy to accepting those cryptocurrency. Hence, they prefer to get the fiat money, like a normal dollar or a euro. Then we have to cash it out into the exchange, and it was a long process. You have to pay a fee. We have to wait to get that money back in our bank account, and so on. So it wasn't impractical. Then I get to know this is not my problem. This is not my problem. This is actually the major problem where a University of Cambridge done a massive research last year, and they understand that there are different reasons that why although the number of coins is a lot, although the market cap will keep increasing, and although the innovation is massive, but why the adoption of cryptocurrency is not as much as what it could be in this market. And one of the main issues, as you can see, is the fluctuation in the market. Hence, this merchant doesn't really like to accept that. But these types of problem really pushing me to go towards a solution to answering this problem. So what we done a massive and extensive research to these problems which we experience and other merchant experience, and we came to the plan to design a really holistic platform in order to fixing this issue. One of the major issues which we resolved was there was no comprehensive software suite or platform which can answering all aspects of crypto economy, from buying, selling, storing, managing, trading, and all sorts of things. There was a lot of apps. Still, there are a lot of beautiful apps in the market from the merchant side. There are a lot of blockchain in the market which facilitating transaction, but putting together in one not centralized in a way of managing centralized, but in a comprehensive platform, which answering all these problems which is existing in this cryptocurrency. That was the major issue which we tried to resolve. So Agate is the platform which has over 12 functional modules, which I'm going to discuss and describe within a few minutes. One of the other problems which we could resolve was all those apps which was in the market mainly has been designed to serving the customers. Hence, if a business wants to adopt that platform, or a person wants to have their own white label platform, either was only few applications which he could choose between, or it was really hard to create their own application. So one of the major change and major innovation which we've done in this Agate is we made a comprehensive API suite which let any businesses which using all those capabilities, which I'm going to describe in a minute, of our Agate under their white name. Here is one of my favorite parts, fluctuation, where we fix this problem with something called iFiat ecosystem. So my fiat ecosystem, which I'm describing in detail a bit later, has been designed to fix this fluctuation issue for both merchant and for user by using and adopting a stable coin inside a platform. So there are stable coins. This is not a new innovation, but using that stable coin, which is spendable immediately, and it used in the platform in a practical way, we never had that. We had a stable coin in the exchange, but you could use it only in the exchange for transferring basically different or exchanging different coin. But a stable coin in the closed loop platform, which is letting you to practically fix this volatility issue, we never had. One of the other things, initially when we went to design this platform, we decided to, like any other application, using the existing blockchain in the market. But then we understand all these existing blockchain are normally are like a general, although they are beautiful and they are really good and working perfectly at the matter of time, but they are normally like a general types of blockchain, or they're designed for a specific reason. Whereas for the micropayment and for nano-payment, where we need an instant transaction and we need a really cheap transaction, we need to design our own blockchain. So again, Dr. Ali will be discussed within a few minutes, but we use our own Agate blockchain, which is basically which is one of the fastest and obviously the cheapest blockchain in the market. As I mentioned before, I always like to have a decentralized system, but also I want to have a really environmental friendly system. Hence, the new technology, which perhaps you guys are aware, is proof of stake. Hence, instead of using proof of work, which is highly needed electricity and power consumption, we use power of stake, which need the minimum amount of electricity and power. And one of the major problems which also seen in these things was we have millions of websites on the internet, and we have hundreds of e-commerce platforms. But integrating existing blockchain and crypto payment gateway is too hard. Or even if it's too easy, what these companies normally do is to transferring the same amount of Bitcoin or Ethereum or different coin to the users. So again, although it is good, but still merchant has to bear the risk of fluctuation. Same thing which we had a few years ago. So they are accepting Bitcoin in a really cheap way or Ethereum in a really cheap way. But when it comes to spend that or basically make it as a fiat currency, no one can guarantee what's the actual value of that currency on that matter of time. So what we did, we create a payment gateway API, but also in order to make this ball rolling, we actually committed to create for the top 10 e-commerce platform like Shopify, WooCommerce, and so on. We committed to create the basically plugins and app for them, and we did few of them, in fact 8 of them, which I describe a bit later. In the user side, as I said, our current application, our current functional application, user can store and keep 6, in fact 5 cryptocurrency plus our Agate, 6 cryptocurrency, which is like a top 5 cryptocurrency: Bitcoin, Ethereum, Bitcoin Cash, Litecoin, and Ripple. And in our development phase right now, we aim to create over 17 coins. So user can keep 17 different coins in one mobile app, and obviously they can proportionally pay from their daily spending. And as I said, we use our own blockchain, hence was really fast. In the merchant side, we create a really easy to adopt solution that merchant can easily transfer their fund to the fiat without volatility or risk. So at this stage, I want to invite Hamid Ustad, who has extensive experience in the payment, and to describe a bit about high-level architecture of Agate.
you. Thanks everyone for joining us in this beautiful evening. I'm Hamid Ustad, Agate co-founder and solutions architect. I have extensive experience in banking and security solutions, like 18 years experience in this area. And I was involved in this Agate architecture from like a year ago, and at the same time I was working for an industry-changing platform in payment in Australia, which is the postal service at VPay. And this is actually the first overlay service on the so-called new payments platform, which actually opens a new era in the payments industry in Australia through real-time and document-rich payments and payment requests. Long story short, we brought all these experiences together in Agate to introduce a new solution, to an end-to-end solution, decentralized end-to-end solutions to address the issues covered in the slides before. Now I would like to give you a high-level highlights of the Agate architecture. All the API modules in the Agate architecture are designed based on the microservices, which practically means that there is no a whole server or whole service part to this architecture. So we could actually divide and conquer based on our requirements in the for the architecture. Our modules are designed based on the microservices pattern, so it allows us to host as many services we would like to one server. All services are hosted on the cloud and designed to be highly available and fault-tolerant. That guarantees that the service availability and reliability. It's actually something that the cloud service guarantee for us that we can scale the service. And to apply the best security practices, all modules are hosted on different servers without interconnection, which means that user service cannot connect to the transaction service or vice versa. API modules are protected using most advanced authentication authorization methods and standards, which means that we have used the strongest available standards for protecting our endpoints. The rest are the API channels are encrypted using SSL TLS, which is not a surprising thing. Data are kept encrypted end-to-end, which means that at both server and app applications, we have the data encrypted using the strong cipher suits. Services are change resilient, based on the agile methodology framework, which means that we are able to change our API, introduce new API, and do the end-to-end testing and deployment on our services as fast as possible. Just to give you a very simplified version of the architecture, as you see, we have exchange application, user wallet app, POS, payment gateway, merchant app, debit card issuer, and banks, which are using our APIs. As I said, the transaction API, wallet API, merchant API, card payments, and bank API are all hosted on the separate services, separate servers, and also the blockchain API to integrate with the Agate, Bitcoin Cash, Litecoin, Ripple, and Ethereum so far. Users are usually, as you see, using the user wallet app and the debit card for issuing the deal, for requesting the from the card issuer to issue the card, and from the bank to deposit, in their account. Merchant can use POS, payment gateway, merchant app, and also the credit card issuer and bank. And the exchange service, exchange app could use the transaction API and blockchain API, and also file payments and bank API. That's basically very high level architecture of the system. I'm going to hand over this back to Hans.
Thank you very much. So I'm going to give you a little bit of easier understanding and image of what we did and what we have, which is a little bit more visualized than just the API level, as was Hamid told us. So as you can see, let me see if I can use this. Yeah. So as you can see here, this area is our user app wallet. So I call it just user app wallet. And pretty much all these areas are the merchant side, which obviously are in different modules, which I tell you in a second. So in the user app, just make it a little bit long. So in the user app, user at the moment, as I mentioned, can store and keep 5 different cryptocurrency, which is the 5 top one. And they have a choice to use a 3 different way of transferring their fund into our secondary wallet, which we call as the iBucket, which basically for a technical people, this iBucket is basically a wallet in our decentralized blockchain. So, and then obviously they can spend it in 3 ways. One way is they load it to their card, to debit card, they can load it to their bank account, or they can spend it inside the iFiat ecosystem, which I'll tell you within a second. There are 3 ways that user can transfer their fund to this iBucket. And the first way obviously is manually. So user have, let's say, I just make it really simplified. They use only Bitcoin, but obviously this is applicable to any other coins. So let's say user just depositing 1 Bitcoin here, and then later on they want to spend it either on their card or in the bank account or inside our iFiat ecosystem. Obviously the first way is to spend it manually. So they say, I'm going to put it into the iBucket, and when they're requesting that, then our system gives the user the best price, the best exchange price, and then once they permitting and authorizing this transaction, from our blockchain, same amount of what user agreed to receive will be deposited to this iBucket in a iFiat token. So for those people who are familiar with the stable coins, they know that they normally peg with the fiat currency. So for example, at the moment, what we implemented right now, 1 US dollar has been pegged with 1 IUSD, which is a token. And then, for example, when they're asking to transfer their fund into either bank or debit card or spending in here, we give them, I mean, it's not we, but the system, the blockchain, issuing the exact same amount of iFiat token into their iBucket. So what does this mean is the value of this iBucket is staying always the same as what initially user agreed to pay. And that has a lot of advantage, which we can describe a little bit later. But before we go further, I just want to give you 2 other ways that user can use that. And the first way is using a trading bot. So we know that because this cryptocurrency market is really fluctuated, and then by day and night might have a different price. And as I said, people may have a different coin in their wallet. Then they know, for example, they're assuming that the value of the Bitcoin or their Ethereum may increase within few hours or maybe decrease within few hours. Hence, they can set different types of orders into this trading bot and leave it. Let's say they know the value of now is $10,000, but they know the value will be dropped by $9,000, but they don't want to lose the value of their currency more than $9,000 or whatever like that, or by 10%. So what they do, they said they're just sitting and condition for this trading bot and said if the value has been reached that price, then basically this deal will be executed. And obviously they will receive the exact amount of iFiat token in their iBucket. One of the other really interesting element of this user app is our AI engine. So our AI engine basically using the most complicated algorithm in existing algorithm in the market. And at the moment, what it does is, so let's say user wants to transfer some fund into the cards or spend it or whatever, but they're not sure that when is the best time to trade or spend this money. So what they do, they just give a condition to this AI engine. An AI engine, by considering all other existing data on the past and using a machine learning algorithm, can suggest user that when is the best time and how much they have to basically transfer their fund into the iBucket in order to get the most of their value of their cryptocurrency. So this is a little bit complicated part which we describe in detail in our white paper, and I invite everyone to go to our website, agatechange.org, which in detail we have described it there. We've done a lot of tests on our existing AI engine, and you will be surprised to see the beautiful result of that. Once user transferring their fund into this iBucket, so they got the exact same amount of money which they agree, and this amount will be staying here forever, so it won't change. Whether Bitcoin become $20,000 or become $1, this amount is still the same. So they sold it for 10 USD, then this 10,000 USD, then they would have 10 USD here forever. What we did, we made a contract already with one of these card issuer, and what we also did, we're using their API in order to load the card immediately as soon as the user executing the deal. Unlike many other existing applications which will take days, or they do it manually at the moment, we actually agreed with this company. We paid money into their floating account, and we executing the order basically as soon as user asking to us. Same things for the bank account. We made a contract with another financial institution, and we can, at the moment, we can transfer in fund to our 52 countries who have the contract, which pretty much covering almost major countries. But one of the most interesting part here is when the cryptocurrency owners, they may not always want to transfer their fund into the card or get the cash out. They want to spend it. They want to spend it on their life. But there should be a platform in the market which is both merchant side and user side can rely on the value of what they receive. So what we did, we used, this is basically our scheme, the actual template of our blockchain, which I can describe one by one later. But I start with the merchant app. We have the same iBucket inside this, which is basically a wallet out of our blockchain. And when user wants to spend their fund into this application, and I'll give you a real example. So you go to the market, you want to buy coffee, the value of coffee is only $3 or $4, right? And the merchant put $4 into the app, the mobile app, which is free again, and user just scanning like any normal transaction, any normal crypto transaction, or by entering manually the iBucket wallet ID, and then this will transferring within a second without fluctuation and almost free. So The reason is, Dr. Ali will describe the whole aspect of this blockchain in a few minutes. But to give you some understanding is because we're using a microblock, and the microblock is only 1 to 3 seconds, and 3 seconds it might be because of delay and all sort of things. And this blockchain has been designed specifically for micropayment. And what we consider, we increase the number of coin on this blockchain, and we drop the value of the transaction to the minimum possible price. So at the moment, for example, in order to transfer any amount of money, regardless of how much is that, to any merchant or post or a gateway, you just pay 0.00075 cents, which is almost free. And the reason which we put here, obviously to intensify the blockchain node holder and miners to keep this ecosystem up and running, and also for people who are a little bit more expert to stop spamming attack. So pretty much free. The good things with this side is merchant would receive the exact amount of money of what they want to receive them. So same things is we understand in the practical world, many merchants can't use only a mobile phone. So they need a physical device. They need to, based on many countries' regulation, they must give the receipt to the customer, and then they may want to use the NFC capability and all sort of things. Hence, we made a contract with the point of sale manufacturer in China, and basically we designed an application which pretty much is the same, but it's talking with this device SDK in order to work with the hardware element of this device. And the same philosophy and process working here. They can, actually I think I have the point of sale system here, I can show you after this meeting. Then we understand I just go a bit further on the picture. So this is the mobile app which you guys see. As you can see, this is, by the way, you can download it on the Google Play right now. The link is available on the website. This is the application. As you can see, it has a different elements, so you can manage your asset. The existing 5 point, and obviously our Agate point on top of this. We have card, you can order a card, we have managing iBucket, AI Engine 21, and so on. Which most of these parts are already functional or in the development phase. And here, the cards, and like I just told you. So here, I just want to give you a little more idea of why we use the physical device to make it more practical for the merchant side. So for those people who already have a shop or are in this business, they know if you go and want to make a contract with any of these FPOS provider, so you can't, for example, find a better deal in Canada and then make a contract with them. It has to be in a specific geographical region. So one of the advantages of using Agate is borderless. So everyone can basically use this point of sale. They can order it online on our website. By the way, they can order this with Agate. So by day first, the Agate has a value here. And then they can basically, as long as they have access to 4G or normal Wi-Fi or ADSL, they can access Agate within a minute. The other really important point of this physical device is, unlike the traditional point of sale system or POS terminal, I would say, where merchant has to pay between 0.7 to 2%, depends on who is the provider, either Master, Amex, or Visa, they have to pay from what they actually receive. Here we don't have such a thing. Merchant, because they actually receive the exact amount of money on the blockchain, where the user paid the little fee for the transaction, hence merchant receive the exact amount of money of what they sold. So they don't, for example, if they sell $100, they exactly receive $100. And obviously we use a secure connection, which the exact detail, I don't want to go to the detail, is on the white paper. In order to basically intensifying our merchant, we don't, unlike the traditional way, we don't put any locking contract or exiting fee, because we can simply use it somewhere else. And also, if they want, they can basically buy this device. Again, they can pay with the Agate. and they own it instead of paid monthly, and obviously have some hardware features and stuff. And also, because these physical devices using our own blockchain, and our own blockchain I describe a bit later, are capable to adopting different businesses in order to sell their virtual goods, like fishing license at the moment, iTunes credit, or gift card, phone credit, phone charge, all sort of things. All these users also can use and use this device in order to sell by accepting crypto, which is another income for them. One of the other features of this device is, at the moment, if you have a physical device right now, and you won't receive your fund immediately after the customer come on town. So you have to do a settlement overnight, and even if you're lucky and if you have your merchant with the same account, with the same bank of you keeping your basically business banking account, it will take a few hours, and if it's in the weekend, few days to receive the actual fund in your account. Due to the nature of this device, which is working on the blockchain, you immediately receive your fund. So imagine someone during working hours, by mistake, dropped the physical device and broke down before do the settlement, and like damage it in a way they can't fix it at all. For that period of time, whatever he collects, it will be loose because it has not settled into his bank account overnight. Whereas in this, as soon as they basically receive the fund, is already on their account. What they need to do, they just download our merchant app, log in, use the fund immediately. One of the really interesting part of this project for me was I was thinking about the millions of online website and e-commerce website in the internet, which pretty much they can't use the advantage of accepting cryptocurrency due to one of those issues which I told you before. So what we did, we've done a research, and we understand over 60 to 80% of the total number of websites in the world using one of these top 10 e-commerce platforms, regardless of what they sell in or where they are or what are their currency, but they're using one of these top 10 e-commerce platforms, as you can see in this diagram. So what we did, we use our own API gateway and using our developer, and we developed, and we actually committed to develop for all these 10, but we already developed for few of them that every, let's say, WooCommerce owner can simply go, download our plugins, and within 3 seconds after passing the business KYC and registering their business, they get an API immediately, and immediately they can accept Agate without complicated integration, without scaring about fluctuation, losing money, or anything like that. They can immediately see that. And then up to them, any of either website owner or physical merchant point of sale terminal owner or merchant owner to how they spend their fund. They can either transfer it to their card as a user, or transfer it to their bank account as again user, or as a user can spend it inside this ecosystem which we designed. And here, the actual example, the real example of what we did. So as you can see here, this particular user, instead of PayPal or traditional Master or Visa card, he or she used to pay by Agate. And as you can see here, there is a QR code and a wallet ID. And the important part here is, after he purchased his goods on his card, he has to pay 262.54 cents US dollar, and he exactly paid the same amount of money in IUSD. And then in the other side, merchant exactly received the same amount of money. What he has to pay extra is a bit of Agate, which, as I mentioned, is almost ignorable. But again, we thought about other 20% of those website or customized platform who does not use these top 10. So we let them, we let users and developer to showing their innovation and let them to using our payment gateway API in order to create their own payment gateway on their own very customized platform. So in order to have those users as well. So some of the users were asking me that more about the iFiat ecosystem. Basically, iFiat ecosystem, as I mentioned before, right now we designed to work with one currency peg or fiat peg token, which is IUSD. But because our blockchain are capable to have our blockchain have its own token generator. So because of that, and once we basically get to the more commercial level, we can add euro, pounds, Australian dollar, and any other fiat peg token inside the ecosystem. And from that second, all the users can basically communicate and receive their fund on the local currency. So as I mentioned before, iBucket is the actual secondary wallet which is working on our blockchain. And beside helping merchant and user to receive the same amount of money of what they sold their crypto, has different features. For example, sometimes you don't necessarily need to basically pay, you don't necessarily need to spend your crypto in order to pay for something. So you have a crypto portfolio and you see market just may crash quickly. Let's say right now, you know, if you guys remember, Bitcoin last year was almost $20,000 December. And you knew if you keep that much, it may not go more than that, all right? So you believe that it's your choice. So what you could do is you could sell or transfer your crypto into the iFiat and keep it there. And once the value of that cryptocurrency has been dropped, then you can buy back your crypto and sort of using internal arbitrage. So give you an example. Let's say a Bitcoin is $20,000 and you know it will drop within a couple of days to $15,000. What you do, you transfer to iFiat, you get 20,000 IUSD on your iBucket. After 2 days, the value of Bitcoin will drop to $15,000, let's say. You buy one Bitcoin, and you actually gain 5,000 IUSD, which you can spend it immediately or transfer to your account or card. Or you can buy 25 Bitcoin and gain something. So this is one of the advantages of using a fiat peg token in the ecosystem. As you can see, in Australia and many other countries, merchant is not a choice. Merchant has to put a refund policy. So if a user buys some things, and then for any reason, either misfunctioning or any reason they want to refund, at the moment the main problem is if a user using the best possible, best existing app in the market, and let's say pay a Bitcoin, which is not make sense in terms of times and transaction costs, but let's say they pay a Bitcoin, and something goes wrong and they want to refund the money. So it's almost impractical because who has to pay? Because the merchant basically has to pay for the refund transaction fee, or user has to pay. So this is an unanswered question. Basically, the reason is because it's too expensive. And let's say if you go and buy something for $10, it doesn't work. You go to the merchant and tell the merchant, look, it doesn't work. I need my money back. So you have to pay a lot of money to pay your money back, or you have to sacrifice a portion of your money in order to get what you pay, which is illegal in most of the countries. So you have to get exactly your money. Whereas in this system, because the transaction fee is too little, it's easy. So the refund is there, and obviously a dispute. Because of the nature of this platform, which is based on blockchain, and we have a block explorer, all the transaction, unlike the traditional way, you don't need to wait for your bank statement to receive it and check it and cross-check it with the customer, see if they double paid or they didn't pay, this sort of thing. You can immediately look at our public block explorer and see if the transaction is settled or not, or a double, for example, if you did by mistake. So in this, at the moment, I'm inviting Agate, one of my other co-founder, who is the PhD candidate in blockchain specifically, and invite him to come and describe about the blockchain features.
Thanks, Owen, and thanks everyone. My name is Ali. I'm one of the co-founders of Agate. I'm going to briefly talk about the Agate blockchain, but before that, let me introduce myself. So I'm a PhD candidate in University of New South Wales. It's about 3 years I've been working on blockchain applications and challenges for the large scale networks, Internet of Things, smart cities, and also cryptocurrency. During these 2 years, I've worked with different researchers from different countries like Brazil and Austria. So I just briefly talk about the Agate blockchain. So as you know, blockchain is the basic and the core technology behind the cryptocurrencies. So everything that is happening in the cryptocurrency, all the privacy that it brings and all the security it brings is owing to the blockchain technology. In the Agate, the blockchain technology is basically inherited from or influenced by the Ripple and Steam blockchain, which are the other existing blockchain instantiations. But we have done some optimizations on those. So one of the key features of Agate blockchain is that it has a high speed in terms of settling the transaction. So in the Agate blockchain, you can settle 200 transactions per second by creating one microblock in each 1 second. And also it doesn't need confirmation time, which normally in the current blockchain is 3 blocks, which takes about half an hour to confirm a transaction. In addition to this, the Agate blockchain has low transaction fee, as Ahmed said. It's only 0.01 of the Agate token price, which in the Agate we have 419 million tokens, which the price is low, and then the final price of the transaction fee would be very low. The scalability is another key feature of Agate. So we have 3 other blockchains or micro blockchains which help the main blockchain to handle transactions and then increase the scalability. So in the Agate, we are defining a new type of smart contract, which unlike the Ethereum smart contract, you don't need to be a developer or you don't need to know Solidity to run or to design your smart contract. You can design your smart contract without knowing even computer programming. And then you can use it for instance, for creating accounts with multi-signatures or locking your money in your account, which is not possible in the current existence. So it's decentralized, like other blockchains. So anyone is welcome to join and serve as a miner. And as Ahmed mentioned again, that mining or the consensus algorithm behind the blockchain Agate is proof of stake, which unlike the Bitcoin one, doesn't need computational power, so it only needs the whoever owns more crypto in the Agate is able to mine more transaction blocks. So security is a key feature of blockchain, which is also in the Agate blockchain. It has a token generator machine in the Agate, which currently we are using it for creating the iFiat, like the iUSD. But later, people can use it as creating their own currency in the iFiat. And also they can use like reward cards, the gift cards, they can be used for generating those as well. And we have also developed a blockchain explorer, which can be used to track all the transactions and all the communications in the blockchain network to ensure the integrity and to ensure everything double spending. I think that would be it basically for me. I hand it to Ahmed. Thanks.
Thank you, Ali. All right. So in order to clarify more about who we're dealing with, I give you basically a picture of our stakeholder, which as you can see here, inside this circle we have our internal stakeholders, and outside these are external stakeholders. So who we're dealing with? So basically we're dealing with 4 major parties. We're dealing with users, we're dealing with the merchant, we're dealing with the developer and other, which I described. So for user, this can be used, a portion of this platform can be used by users who holding crypto and they want to use it, they want to spend it, they want to keep it, they want to manage their asset. Or users who do trading. Not to mention, when I told you about the iField and how we control the fluctuation in this platform, user who wants to use our either trading bot or AI engine, in combination of the iBucket, they can have the best trading experience inside the user app. For the merchant side, we're dealing with both, as you understand, with the physical merchant and also for the e-commerce website who wants to accept in cryptocurrency. We're also dealing with the developer, either those ones who like to, showing their innovation and create their own token, create their own wallets. As like any other decentralized blockchain, they can have always access to developing using our API, which is public and is available on GitHub. Or those one who, if you remember, I mentioned that those one who don't want to use our payment gateway app or plugin, and they want to develop their own payment application, they can use our API in order to make them. We also can serve miners because our blockchain has been designed to let user to using, even if they don't necessarily need to buying an expensive devices, they don't necessarily need to spending a lot of electricity. So as long as they have even one coin, they can be practically one of our miners. So, or those one who wants to have their own full node, they can simply jump in our GitHub, download with the instruction, and run their own node and start mining, and obviously getting reward based on the participation of keeping this blockchain up and running. Same time with the businesses. So give you an example that how businesses can contribute and working with, using our system. If you remember, I mentioned before that whole system is sitting on, can be used as a white label platform and using our APIs. So, give you an example on the real world. So you know that the big supermarket, the big airplanes, companies, they have their own loyalty programs. I'll give you an example for Australian residents. So you are familiar with Coles and Woolies. So they have their own flybys. So you can earn those coins in different way, but when it comes to spend those coins, you only have to get back to their own centralized shop or online website and spending there, or in the best case scenario, you can transfer it to gift card. But by the end of the day, you stick to them, right? Whereas, and then they own the platform, they manage the platform, and all sorts of things. Whereas here in Agate, everyone can run their own loyalty program by issuing their own token for any reason. It can be a company who wants to give a reward to their employee who working a little bit more, or it can be loyalty based on how much you're spending. So you setting a business setting how they want to put the value on their own really personal token, and they have control of their own token inside their own wallet, and they can actually create their own token. But when it comes to spending those and using those tokens, all those merchants, all those online websites who are adopting our API can accepting those tokens. So users would not be locked to one centralized website anymore. And also, how we make money or how Agate make money is basically only out of the transaction. It's absolutely a decentralized system, obviously on the GitHub, and we don't know and we don't want to know that how much is the value of the token. But inside the blockchain, any transaction has a cost of, as you guys know, 0.1 of 1 Agate. In the external party, we are dealing with exchange, we're dealing with the point-of-sale terminal manufacturing, we're dealing with the financial institution for handling the debt and deposit into the bank account, and we're dealing with the debit card issuer to issuing the card. So one of the really most asked questions from me is, that looks great, but how we know that what you made is unique and how you protect that. So what we did also, we considered this part. We got the patents and trademark for the names, for the idea, for the claims, and for logo in different regions and countries. We got the patent pending numbers, and obviously trademark and also this. So you don't need to worry about the competition in futures. And here is our roadmap of what we did. Unfortunately, it's the other way, so I have to read it for you. It's a bit hard to read out here. So the idea, as my other co-founder mentioned, has been started and ignited by Feb 2017. And obviously, when we investigate a lot with the most expert people in this industry, we went to idea realization in order to find out how our idea is good. We changed it several times, and then obviously we ended up just estimating how much this project would cost to do. We got an investor from Big Group, and then after that we start to designing and architecturing the whole ecosystem, and obviously drafting our first white paper on that matter of time. So by November 2017, we start developing our MVP, and obviously we changed a lot, we got a lot of revision, and then by December, our first mobile app, the alpha version has been released into the market. Again, we got another investor because then we had some working and functional application, and after that, as I mentioned, we moved and run our very own and very customized blockchain, which basically running on the testnet. After that, on March 2018, so our application, like both mobile application and nursing application, has been developed more, and we'll release the beta version. And then now we are with you guys, and basically starting on whitelisting for those people who are interested to be a part of this team. After that, we have a stage of fundraising, which the whole detail has been described in the white paper and the website. But then what we're going to do after that is we're moving, at the moment, obviously it's running on our own testnet, but we're moving and switching to our own mainnet, where we got some fun and some more interested party. And then on the track on Q1 2019, we can, perhaps we can do it a bit sooner. We can releasing our own smart contract. One of the key features of our smart contract, unlike the most existing smart contract, which you need to learn another language, and you have to basically spend a lot of time to know what you have to do. In our smart contract, it's pretty simple. We want to let everyone who doesn't have that much knowledge, as long as they can basically run a simple code, to run their own criteria and put it in the smart contract on our blockchain. And obviously, as I mentioned, we committed to develop 10 plugins and app, which will be finished there. I believe it's going to finish much sooner because we already developed 8 of them. And then, and obviously, multi-currency, multi-language. And our main aim is by Q4 of 2019 is to get the banking license, where this, we believe this application has much more capability as what I told you, but more than that, it needs a banking license and financial license to add more features. Unfortunately, because of the law, I can't say what we can add, but the potential is massive. So, as you saw, we got investor, we actually spent a lot of money to make this up to this level, but obviously we have a crowdfunding which give you some details. All these details are available on the website. So the first part is we issued 490 million coin in our blockchain. So out of this 490 million coin, we're gonna sell 65% of total number of coin to whoever wants to participate on this project. And the value of this coin at the moment is 0.076 USD, almost 7.5 cents basically. But We also put a minimum and maximum contribution. The reason is we don't want people who wants to manipulate the market get into this platform. We just put a limit for people to invest in this platform if they want to. And at the moment after tonight, when we officially launch this platform, everyone can go and register on the website and show their expression of interest. However, they would be only buying and participating on 21st of August, which start by 25% discount and will drop every 2 weeks and so on to 20 and then 15, 10 and 5. And after that we have a period of public sale, which is for a month almost, and without discount. As you can see, we have a soft cap of $2 million and we have a hard cap of 24,206,000 USD. We want to basically dealing with all other cryptocurrencies. So we are happy to accept Ethereum, Bitcoin, Litecoin, Bitcoin Cash, Dash, EOS, and USD, US dollar. In order to make sure that our investors are safe, so obviously because the other 35% would be held by the whole ecosystem, which I described in a second. All the team tokens would be locked in the smart contract and available online. This means we won't be able to sell it within a year and investing every quarter. And if we can't sell these 218,500,000 tokens, would be burned by a smart contract. And obviously, for people who are familiar with the smart contract, you know these things happening by smart contract. It's not something which I claim, so you can go and check on our GitHub. So how we basically spending this money is on the distribution of Agate. You can see we put 65% on for the sales, either on pre-sales or private investor or public sales. And then you can see team would get 10%. We have obviously advisor and partner which get 5%. We have bounty program and referral, which would be 5% of the total number of tokens. And 15% of the total number of tokens would be locked inside the blockchain, because as you guys know, blockchain needs some token in order to operate. And out of those money which we collect, it will be investing in order to achieve our goals. And 40% of those money will be invested on the research and development. 40% other will be spent on the marketing side, and obviously PR, growth hacking, and all sort of things. And then we have operation and admin and legal fee, which needs to be paid, and 5% for unseen events. I would like to introduce our advisory board, which they're really helping us to get to this point. I also thank you to some of them are already here between us. So we have Brandon Smith, who has been the general manager and vice president of Dell and Symantec and many more famous companies. We have Dr. Samanel Moshfeghi, working with Google and many more, Philips and many more famous companies. We have Dr. Miksad Rezvani, who helping us on the AI part. Unfortunately, he couldn't make it. He has a meeting in the other city here. We have Gita with extensive experience in the banking and financial markets, who helping us to understand this market from the banking point of view and merchant point of view, and our lawyer Esam Fallahi in Australia, who are helping us to make everything aligned with the regulation. Unfortunately, I couldn't put all of our team members here, and thanks them with their great effort. Day and night, I get the opportunity to thank them day and night working on this project. As you can see, myself, Hamid, most of them already here. You're welcome to have a chat with them if you have any question. And obviously you can access their LinkedIn or all the experience in our website. We try to choose best of the best in the market in different areas, from strategy, from development side, from architecture, as you know. Hamid, just want to highlight, as you guys might know, specifically spent pretty much all of his career in the payment and banking solution in the enterprise level, and so on for other people who really helping us here. Thank you guys who came here for us, and sorry for what happened. I would like to take opportunity and thanks for all of our partners and supporters who are helping us to make this happen. If you guys have any questions, you're welcome to ask.